to the Handsell. I'm Ron Hogan, and my guest today is Alissa Quart. Her book is Republic of Outsiders, subtitled The Power of Amateurs, Dreamers, and Rebels. And tell us a little bit about that subject and what drew you to it.
Well, I grew up in the East Village in Manhattan, and my parents were on the outskirts of the counterculture, and so that meant we went to see people's screenings of their own films, and there's apartments in Soho, their lofts in Soho, in the middle of the day. Meant we ate a lot of lentils and bulgur, and my mom sewed our clothes, and we were connoisseurs, as a family, connoisseurs of outsider culture. We ourselves probably weren't exactly part of it. When the city gentrified in the early 21st century in particular, I was thinking, what happened to those people? What happened to that culture? What happened to truly independent culture and independent thought, and people who had philosophies that ran counter to what they were supposed to be doing for money, for status. So I went and tried to find those people.
A lot of the people that you talk to in this book are younger people, like late adolescents, early adults, pushing against the system, and I think that actually ties in well with the list that we've got. The way that the Handsell works is that people send me lists of books that they've enjoyed, and then I take those lists and come to bookstores and talk to authors and booksellers, and we figure out some books for you to read next. So this list, it includes Sylvia Plath's The Bell Jar, Joseph Heller's Catch-22, The Fault in Our Stars by John Green, the J.K. Rowling series, the Harry Potter series by J.K. Rowling, and Kurt Vonnegut's Slaughterhouse-Five. Like I say, it's a really interesting mix of sort of coming-of-age stories and war stories, but although those are protagonists who are, I guess in some sense, often coming of age under... They're younger protagonists coming of age under very difficult circumstances. Anyway, it's a very interesting, eclectic mix of books, and I'm interested in what you came up with. Yeah.
So I went with, I hadn't read every single one, or I'd read them a long time ago in college. So The Bell Jar and Catch-22 were freshest in my mind, and so I was thinking, subversive coming-of-age books where the protagonists are moving to the city, as the central character of The Bell Jar does, and winding a sometimes dark path through the city. So one character that struck is the central character in The Savage Girl by Shakar, which is a really wonderful novel about commercialism, and it's about a cool hunter who in their extreme search for trends winds up trend spotting a homeless person, and it's amazingly written and very odd, and it has that kind of, it's sci-fi-ish or surreal. It's sort of set in a place we don't know, but it's that kind of surrealism that is more like our reality than realism. And then some of the other books that I considered were Mother's Milk by Edward St. Aubyn, because it's a story with a really unusual narrative device. It's told from the perspective of an infant. So it's like the ultimate subversive, strange coming-of-age story. Before I wrote Republic of Outsiders, I wrote two books that were subversive political books about childhood, Branded and Hothouse Kids, nonfiction books. So I very much identified with both The Savage Girl and Mother's Milk. And the third choice, which is a classic, Sister Carrie by Theodore Dreiser, looks at the way that individuals are polluted by the system, young people. In this case, a young woman who comes to the city to, like as in The Bell Jar, makes her way and winds up embracing all sorts of hollow things because she's not given really particularly good options.
Well, those are three great choices. I went at this from two different angles. In the first angle, thinking about the Harry Potter series and the John Green and even maybe a little bit The Bell Jar, I thought of Rainbow Rowell's new book, Fangirl. I know Rainbow Rowell has a lot of fans because of Eleanor and Park, and Fangirl just came out, and it's a great book about a college freshman who is a fanfic writer. She writes characters who are in a very Harry Potter-like franchise, and this fanfic is sort of her coping mechanism in dealing with the overwhelmingness of going off to college and dealing with all the pent-up emotional stress of her family life. The characters, Rainbow Rowell just does a really wonderful job of making the real-life characters authentic, but also making the fanfic feel like it's an actual franchise that you'd actually be invested in, even though it's sort of a Harry Potter parody, or a pastiche, if you will. And then the other angle that I wanted to tackle in is that sort of ignores the whole Catch-22 Slaughterhouse-5 thing. The book that I came up with in that vein was Billy Lynn's Long Halftime Walk by Ben Fountain, which, again, I also think, it's kind of a circuitous route through, John Green and The Fault in Our Stars. But Billy Lynn's Long Halftime Walk is about a platoon of soldiers who've been fighting in the war in Iraq, and they've been brought back to take part in a halftime show of the Thanksgiving Dallas Cowboys game. And it pops in and out of their pasts and their presents, and what they dealt with in the war, what they're dealing with in their home life, dealing with the whole circus of being wedged into an NFL halftime show that's become a patriotic extravaganza. And I feel like it got at the kind of absurdity of war that Heller and Vonnegut were getting at, but it also reminds you of often just how young these soldiers are, and that they're not much older than the kinds of teenage protagonists in some of the other books that we've been talking about. And in a way that I remember reading Slaughterhouse-5 and Catch-22 when I was younger, and it never really dawned on me how young those protagonists were. I just saw them as much older than me. And looking at them as an older reader, it puts them in an entirely new light. But I think whatever age the person who sent us this list in, they will get some very interesting things out of both the Ben Fountain and the Rainbow Rowell book. So there's a lot of interesting reading choices for you to look at. Now, if you would like some recommendations tailored to your tastes, all you have to do is go to thehandsell.com/ask, and there's a little dialogue box there. You can type in 3, 4, maybe 5 books that you've enjoyed and send that to me, and I will take a look at it and come to a bookstore and find an author or a bookseller, and we'll come up with some books that you might enjoy based on what we get out of your list. So we've been here at Astoria Bookshop in Queens. I've been talking with Alissa Quart about Republic of Outsiders, and I'm Ron Hogan, and I'm really glad that you were able to watch this episode of The Handsell. Thanks, and I hope to see you again soon.